You think you chose your job, your house, your partner. What if I told you that 90% of your decisions were made by a part of you that you don't even know exists? I'm talking about your unconscious mind. And before you roll your eyes thinking this is some mystical nonsense, let me ask you something. Have you ever said, I don't know why I did that, or that's not like me at all? Well, Freud would say, actually, that is exactly like you. You just don't know yourself as well as you think you do. Today, we're diving deep into the most powerful force in your life, the one that's been calling the shots while you thought you were the boss. Think of your mind like a theater. What you call yourself, your conscious thoughts, your rationale, decisions, that's just the actors on stage. But behind the scenes, there's an entire crew working. Lighting technicians, sound engineers, stagehands, moving props. The unconscious is that backstage crew. It's working 24/7, influencing every scene, but you never see it. Here's a simple example. You walk into a coffee shop and choose a table by the window. You think it's because you like natural light. But what if your unconscious chose that spot because it reminds you of your grandmother's kitchen where you felt safe as a child? You'll never consciously make that connection, but your unconscious just guided a random choice. Neuroscience backs this up. Studies show that our brains make decisions up to 7 seconds before we are consciously aware of them. 7 seconds. That's your unconscious working faster than your rational mind can even keep up. Freud discovered this over a century ago, not with brain scans, but by listening, really listening to what people said and didn't say. He noticed that people would come to him with problems that seemed completely irrational. I keep sabotaging my relationships. I chose a career I hate. I can't stop this weird habit. And Freud thought, what if these aren't random behaviors? What if there's a hidden logic? Here, let's talk about your career. You probably tell people you chose your job based on salary, growth potential, company culture, all very rational, right? But let's dig deeper. What if you unconsciously chose a demanding job because you learned early that love equals struggle? What if you avoid leadership roles because deep down, you're terrified of disappointing people like you once disappointed your parents? Or relationships. You say you want someone kind, stable, emotionally available, but you keep ending up with people who are distant, complicated, or unavailable. Your conscious mind is confused. Your unconscious, it's following a script written in childhood. Freud would say, you're not choosing these people randomly. You're unconsciously recreating familiar patterns, even painful ones, because familiar feels like home. This is what he called repetition compulsion. We repeat what we know, even when it hurts, because the unconscious prioritizes familiar over happy. Even something as practical as choosing where to live. You tour 10 houses and immediately feel drawn to one. You rationalize it. Good location, nice kitchen, reasonable price. But what if your unconscious chose it because the smell of wood polish reminded you of your first home? Or because the layout feels like safety? The unconscious doesn't think in words, it thinks in emotions, images, and sensations. It's constantly scanning for patterns that match your deepest emotional memories. You make your pros and cons lists. You research. You think you're being logical. But Freud would say the decision was already made the moment you walked in. Your rational mind is just the PR department, creating a story that sounds good. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Sometimes your unconscious gets tired of being ignored and decides to speak up. These are what Freud called peripraxis, but we know them as Freudian slips. You're at dinner and you mean to say, this pasta is delicious, but instead you say this pasta is disgusting. Everyone laughs. You're mortified. But Freud would say, your unconscious just told the truth about how you really feel about this dinner party. You call your new boss by your ex's name. You forget your anniversary with someone you're thinking of leaving. You accidentally send a complaining text about someone to that person. You show up late to events you don't want to attend. We call these accidents, but Freud called them successful acts of the unconscious. Your unconscious found a way to express what your conscious mind wouldn't let you say, or forgetting things. You forget your wallet when you're supposed to pay for dinner with someone you resent. You forget to call back someone you're trying to avoid. You forget to bring something you promised to someone you're angry with. Freud would say, you didn't forget. Your unconscious remembered exactly what you really wanted to do. Even in our digital age, this happens. You type a message, delete it, retype it, delete it again. What's really happening? Your conscious mind is trying to be polite, but your unconscious keeps trying to say what you really feel. The unconscious is like that friend who's had too much wine and starts saying what everyone's really thinking, except it's not wine, it's just your deepest, most honest self trying to break through. But the unconscious's favorite way to communicate. Dreams. Freud called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. And here's why. During the day, your conscious mind is like a strict parent, censoring everything. Don't think that. Don't feel that. Don't want that. But when you sleep, that parent goes off duty, and your unconscious finally gets to play. Dreams don't speak in logical sentences. They speak in symbols, metaphors, and emotions. It's like your unconscious is an artist, not a lawyer. You dream about being chased by a giant spider. Your conscious mind thinks weird nightmare. But what if that spider represents someone in your life who feels overwhelming and threatening? What if being chased means you're running from a conversation you need to have, or you dream you're flying? You wake up feeling amazing. Maybe that's your unconscious telling you that. You're ready to break free from something that's been holding you back. Those dreams about being late for an exam you haven't studied for, even years after graduation, that's your unconscious processing current feelings of being unprepared or judged. The brilliant thing about dreams is they're honest. Your unconscious can't lie. It can only express what's really there. Freud used to have his patients write down their dreams and then free associate, just say whatever came to mind about each image. No censoring, no making sense. And that's when the real insights would emerge. Dreams are like text messages from your unconscious. They might seem random, but they're actually highly personal communications about your deepest concerns, desires, and conflicts. So how do you start listening to this powerful force that's been running your life behind the scenes? First, start paying attention to your body. Your unconscious speaks through physical sensations before your mind catches up. You meet someone and something feels off, but you can't put your finger on it. Your unconscious is picking up tone of voice, energy that your conscious mind hasn't processed yet. Trust that gut feeling before making big decisions. Try this. Imagine yourself choosing option A. How does your body feel? Tight, relaxed, excited, drained. Then imagine option B. Your unconscious is voting through your nervous system. Second, pay attention to your accidents and slips. They're not random, they're information. If you keep being late to certain events, maybe your unconscious is telling you something about how you really feel about those commitments. If you keep having the same type of conflict with different people, maybe the pattern is coming from inside you, not from them. Third, take your dreams seriously. Not literally, but symbolically. Keep a dream journal, not to become a dream interpreter, but to start noticing patterns. What emotions keep showing up? What situations, what people from your past keep appearing? And finally, start questioning your instant reactions. When you immediately love or hate something, when you feel inexplicably drawn to or repelled by someone, when you have a strong opinion about something you've never experienced, that's your unconscious talking. The goal isn't to control your unconscious, that's impossible. The goal is to start recognizing its voice so you can work with it instead of being blindsided by it. Here's what changes when you start recognizing your unconscious. You don't become a different person, but you become a more honest one. You start making choices that align with who you really are, not who you think you should be. You stop being surprised by your own behavior. You start seeing the hidden logic in your patterns. You get better at relationships, because you're not constantly fighting against parts of yourself you don't understand. Freud's greatest insight wasn't that we have an unconscious, it's that we can develop a relationship with it. We can learn to listen to it, respect it, and work with it. Think about the most authentic people you know. They're not perfect, but they're real. They seem to know themselves deeply. That's not magic, that's unconscious awareness. Remember our theater metaphor. Most people think life is about controlling the performance on stage. But what if the real magic happens when the actors and the backstage crews start working together? What if instead of fighting your unconscious, you started collaborating with it? Your unconscious has been protecting you, guiding you, and trying to heal you your entire life. It's been working with incomplete information and childhood strategies, but it's been doing its best. Maybe it's time to update the software, to give your unconscious some new information about who you are now and what you actually want. Freud spent his life listening to people's unconscious communications, not to judge them, but to understand them. to help them understand themselves. That's the real power of psychoanalysis, not to eliminate the unconscious, but to befriend it. So next time you do something that surprises you, instead of saying, "I don't know why I did that," try asking, "What was my unconscious trying to tell me?" You might be surprised by what you discover about yourself. And remember, your unconscious has been making decisions for you your whole life. The question is, are you ready to start being part of the conversation? What's one decision you've made recently that surprised you? Share it in the comments. Let's start recognizing our unconscious patterns together. And if this made you think, subscribe for more insights into the mind that's been running your life behind the scenes.